Okay, so this video, I'm just gonna demonstrate how to identify and manipulate just different elements of the Photoshop interface. So we call this the interface, the software, what it looks like, the face of Photoshop. And so we're gonna touch on some key concepts, some key components to get you started. The first thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and just create just a blank new file. It's gonna do a default Photoshop size file. Remember, I posted a video where I discussed the new document window and I went into details about the presets and all these different specifications. And so I'm just going to just create just a regular Photoshop document. And so here is actually, we call this my workspace. So this is my Photoshop workspace. And so some key components, we have our option bar, which is this bar right here. If you notice my mouse going across here, we call this our options bar. And I also too like to sometimes refer to it as my settings bar too. Your options bar is just means the settings or options for whatever tool you have selected. And so here is my tools bar. So this is my tools bar here, and these are all the tools that I have in Photoshop. And so again, your option bar, or you can call it settings, but it's technically called option bar, is just the options or settings for whatever tool you have selected. So say for instance, let me go ahead and select the T. This is my type tool. Notice when I selected the T, my options change. And so this is the settings and options for that T tool, that type tool. Say I were to select the paintbrush. Notice those settings, those options change. And so these are two common components that you're going to use in Photoshop. So very, very important that you take some time to get familiar with it. And these options constantly change. So it just depends on whatever tool you have selected. Now your toolbar, Photoshop has a ton of tools. They have so many that it would be very, very hard for all of them to be visible. And so in Photoshop, you can find what we call hidden tools. And so if you click on a tool, so for instance, I have my brush tool here selected. If I right click it, it gives me additional tools that's related to that tool. So say I have my type, right click, these are those additional tools that are related to type. So they kind of try to cluster them and group them together based on the function and what they do, whether it's a selection, a shape selection, right click. See, we got those group of those same type of tools just together. And you can tell if a tool has additional tools by looking at this little triangle right here in this corner. That lets me know that there are some tools that are hidden under there. So again, if I right click, it'll show me those additional tools. And you can also scroll all the way to the bottom and look for these three little dots right here. Click that. And here are all of those tools. And you also have the option to edit your toolbar. So say you have certain tools that you commonly use that you want to see all the time. Maybe you can consider using that edit function where you can go ahead and just edit those tools that you commonly use. And you can place them, move them around however you see fit. You can always change these. And you can reset them if you have like some saved presets. So if you have like a saved layout of tools that you have visible, just like the new document preset, you can do that. So many different features, and you can restore it to the default. So see, I hit that restore, it went back to the original. And so it just kind of changed it up a little bit. I'm gonna hit done. So that's how you find those additional tools. And again, you're going to use this toolbar function quite often, especially down in this little section here. You have your colors. So this is your foreground color, and it tells you right here, foreground. So this is the color that's in the front. And then my background color, that's the color that will be in the back. And we're going to touch on color a little bit further, but this is how you find that. And so a really great feature about Photoshop, especially for beginners, is that, yes, it can be very intimidating. It is a lot. I would say I probably know probably not even 60%, 50% of all the features in Photoshop. I just don't use them. But you can easily figure out what things do because it tells you. If you hover over different tools or features, it'll tell you the name And then oftentimes, if you notice this little video here, I can hit play and it'll show me like a demonstration on what it does. You can also watch a quick video. You can learn more. So it literally tells you everything. It will tell you. Even in my option bar here, I can hover over something. Say I want to hover over this check mark. I don't know what it is. It'll tell me. So here, if I hover over it long enough, it's telling me showing the sample ring tool. So I have the showing sample ring tool. If I uncheck it, hover over it again, it'll tell me the same thing, showing the sample ring when using the eyedropper tool. So it tells you pretty much everything. So those are like your key main components. Your next one that's probably important for you guys to get familiar with in Photoshop is up here. We call this our menus panel. And so if you've pretty much paid attention to any type of software, such as like a Microsoft, your PowerPoint, even Google, all softwares have pretty much have a menu panel. And so in your menu panel, you have your functions like your file, all your details pertaining to file, edit, anything pertaining to editing, image, anything pertaining to editing images, layer, type, so like that text, select. So we'll learn about selections, filters, if you're doing any type of 3D, view, so what you see based like your screen, if you're zoomed in, zoomed out, plugins, if you have any plugins, and then window. And so window, I want to touch on this one because this is where all of your panels are. So these are all of the panels. Now, could you imagine if we had all of these panels visible? Your screen and your workspace would be very, very cluttered. So what Photoshop does is they give you the essential ones to get started, but you can always rearrange your panels. You can always rearrange your workspace to customize it to basically have it fit you. And so we're learning about identifying and manipulating those elements. This is how you do that. And so say I wanted the color panel, and here it is. So this is that color panel visible. I can have it visible here. Now, here's the thing about your panels. All of these, we call these all panels. All these little features, all these different functions, these are all panels. Notice that I can manipulate them and rearrange my workspace by moving those panels around. I can move them back. I can dock them. If I wanted something over here, I can put it over here if I wanted to. However, I want to customize that workspace that works best for me, I can do that. And so with your workspace, if you go all the way to the top, right in this little section right here, it looks like a box, like a computer screen. This is called your workspace. You can choose your workspace. And so Photoshop gives you some basic workspaces to get you started, and workspace just meaning like a certain type of layout of your space. So right now I have essentials, but say I wanted to take a look at the 3D. So notice that it changed my workspace and it just gives me those panels that I would use commonly for 3D work. Say I wanted to do painting. I was working on a painting project. It gives me those panels that I would commonly use for painting. Photography. Here are those panels I would commonly use for photography, and then so on and so forth. You can also create your own customized workspace as well. So I've created like a few of them just for practice. Crazy workspace all over the place. Customized to the right. This is one that I created just for fun. And to create those new workspace, all you have to do is basically rearrange your workspace however you like. So I'm just going to do something really quick. Move some stuff around. And to move around, if you notice, I'm like dragging it. Kind of like, you see where those little slashes are? I'm just kind of moving it around there. And so we'll have it set like that. I'll go here and I'm just going to click on new workspace. New workspace. Call it something crazy and hit save. And so if I go back here, there it is. There's that new workspace. If I wanted to go ahead and delete it, I can go ahead and delete it. So super easy. That's basically how you manipulate the different elements and features in Photoshop. and also how you can identify them. Again, hovering over them, different features will tell you what it is and oftentimes tell you what to do. If you get stuck with anything, feel free to use the little search function right here where you can like search and find different tools. You can get different help and support, even some tutorials on different Photoshop related content.